Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Judith All Saints and I'm glad to have you all here. Previously, this channel was called Pharmacology Unpacked for Nurses, but I feel like it is going to be a little more diverse in the kind of content that is going to be featured here. So I have been thinking about and reflecting about just making it as open as I can. And I think one of my followers here actually suggested that I should change the name, and it's something that I had already been reflecting on. And so I'm just using my names on my channel right now as Judith All Saints. And I'm so happy to have you guys here. And today, I just want us to talk about a few things which are basically like updates about my stay in the United States. Um, it's almost coming to 7 months since I landed here. I arrived in the United States on the 8th of April. So, sometime next week or the other week, I will make 7 months in the United States. And of course, there's a lot that has gone on. There are a number of updates that I would have to share or I would love to share with you. And these are going to be in the areas of, the H-1B visa, general updates, and updates about my very own work approval. And then I'll also just really reflect about what the past 6 months have been for me, my orientation process, and then right now, working independently without a preceptor. So I hope we shall engage a lot. And I thank you all, those who continue to come to my channel to see the few things that I post. I'd like to confess that it's quite hard to resume posting these videos when you've had a hiatus for some time. Yeah, because I think I last posted something substantially here actually last year, about September, October, and then again I just resumed about a few months back. So I'm trying to build my momentum gradually, and I hope that I'll get there to posting more frequently. So I'd like to request you to subscribe to this channel, to like my videos, and also to share and to engage in the comments so that it can be a lot more interactive. So I'll start off with the H1B updates. My last video basically looked at what my H1B process was. For those who are new here, I came to the United States under the H1B visa to work as a registered nurse here in the state of Iowa, in the city of Davenport. Yeah. And the last video that I posted on this channel was talking about really my process and my experiences, what it was like for me, and my reflections about whether one should go in for the H1B visa or not. Barely a week after that, then we had this whole news that came in. The President of the United States had then, I think it was 21st of September, signed an executive order that introduced a fee of $100,000 to be paid by employers who were opting to get, foreign employees into the country to come and do certain specialty jobs for them. Yeah, so it kind of brought a bit of a shake up, but I I reserved my comments. Yeah, I know that I made like initial comments almost a few hours when it was made, when that executive order was announced. I made a few comments, especially to a group that I belong to, but not really outside there. But also, the reason why I didn't say much about it is because I knew that the following day there would be a lot of sensational reporting, sensational breaking news, and etc. And indeed, there were, right? People came in with opinions. Some people were sad about the developments. Other people were actually, ironically, quite rejoicing that this had happened. I remember watching remember watching a TikTok page, and this TikToker was actually quite, I mean, she was just being a little bit sarcastic, you know, BSNs. Yeah, BSNs. I mean, the H-1B visa is not like such a popular visa for nurses. Just a few BSNs have come with H-1B visa. Every other nurse, or most of us actually, come through the EB3 pathway. So there is no pathway that has been blocked for anyone anyway. Yeah, because the EB3 pathway, which is the actual pathway, does exist and still continues to exist. Now, within this time also, uh, my hospital or my employer had made an application for extension of my work authorization or work approval. Now, I didn't mention in my last video that my approval was given for only 1 year. Yeah, it was just given for 1 year. And you may ask me why. The explanations were quite clear. So when I was endorsing my Texas license to the State Board of Iowa, I did everything. I submitted every document. I basically met whatever criteria that I was supposed to. And then I was told that I have met every criteria. However, they need to ascertain my residency status, you know, for them to be able to give me a full license. So that means I needed to have a visa. They just gave me a letter that said this person has met all the criteria to be given a license to work as an RN in the state of Iowa. However, she doesn't have a residency status. So that letter was supposed to be presented to USCIS or when my petition was being filed. Now that was done. And then the USCIS responds by giving me an approval, but for 1 year. And the explanation they give is that I do not have a permanent license. But they hope that within the 1 year, I would have got a permanent license. So then I would have to apply for extension. Yeah, and that's exactly what happened. And friends, it really just brings me a reflection. Like many times we keep saying, this journey is an individual journey. We start as a group, but we end individually. A number of us had this filing pretty much done at the same time. All our criteria were pretty much similar, but some of us got 1 year approvals, others got 3 year approvals. So it's a totally personal journey, really. Yeah. So the good thing then is my hospital, of course, in collaboration with Worldwide Health Staff Solutions, which is a direct hire company that's basically got me the job, filed for an extension. And the extension was filed in August. And then this executive order was being announced on 21st September. So it got me a little bit anxious. I was wondering, does it affect me? What do I do? It is say, yeah. But I'm glad to let you know that just the day before this executive order was announced, that's the 20th of September, my extension was actually approved by extra 3 years. So my initial approval expires on the 15th of December 2025, and then this new approval sets in on the 16th of December 2025 up to the 15th of December 2028. So I'm happy. Yeah, my mind is at peace. I had a sigh of relief when I got this information from Worldwide Health Staff that, my approval had been granted. Now, what's this whole thing about, the $100,000 fee to be paid by employers? Of course, when it all came, like I said, there was a lot of sensationalism on the reporting about this. But in my mind, I was like, there's a lot of clarity that is going to be given as the days go by. So I'm just going to give it a little bit of time and then we see what happens. And indeed, as days went by, clarifications kept being given. And right now, as we stand, we know that it doesn't actually sound as bad as it originally was made to sound. Okay, so the $100,000 fee is to be paid by employers who are opting to employ from outside of the United States. Okay, yeah. But if you're within the United States and maybe you're just having to change your status from one visa type to another, it actually does not apply to you. I know that at that time, especially people who had been here and have been students, students on the F1 visa, or basically students, yeah, resident doctors, for example, at the end of your program, you want to be able to get work authorization because you don't get a green card immediately. Like you go through some visa type before you can eventually apply for a green card. So you need to get an employer who is able to sponsor your H-1B visa, which is work visa or work authorization or a work permit. And then that employer, if they also agree, they can then file a green card for you. So it seemed bleak at that point, like what's happening? But the clarification that has been made now is that, students who are within the United States can actually go through the process without attracting this $100,000 fee. It just doesn't end with students. If you're a nurse and you're already within the United States on a different kind of visa and you have an employer that's willing to sponsor an H-1B for you and you meet the criteria for an H-1B visa or a work permit, then this $100,000 bill does not apply to you. In fact, I feel like these people came up with this thing, but there was a loophole because it's as though you just have to be within the United States and then adjust your status to a different one, and you won't attract this fee. Yeah, you won't attract this fee. So for example, all our nurses that were here, like those who have come from Africa or from other countries that were here doing their postgrad studies, the master's studies, those under Bridgeway, etc. Yeah, there's a sigh of relief because after your program, then you can get an employer who will file for an H-1B for you, and it will not attract the $100,000 fee. It's of course sad for a number of us bachelor's holders who are still back at home, because then if a hospital now does have to file for you, then it attracts that fee. And sincerely speaking, how many hospitals are willing to pay $100,000 for an RN? Which RN they're coming here to pay less than $100,000 in a year? Okay, maybe there are those that are willing to. I haven't yet heard, but it's quite a hard one there. But for those that are already within the country, it becomes a lot easier. So the next thing that I'm going to talk about is just, yeah, my 6 months so far in the United States. So I came here on April 8th. Yeah, I went through the entire process of, looking for accommodation, signing a lease at my apartment. I made a mistake. I signed a 1 year lease. I should have just signed like a 6 month lease so that I would move out of that apartment. It's a beautiful apartment. ETC, I love it a lot, but I don't see a reason why I should stay there like for a whole year when I can get another place, especially a place that I know when I get in, my family will just come and join me. But it's a mistake I made, and so I have to wait until the 1 year elapses, which is until 31st of March. Yeah, it's not such a long time. I can now wait, and then I'll be able to get another accommodation. Otherwise, because I signed a 1 year lease and it's just a one-bedroom house, it has also influenced our decision to move my family, because then they cannot come into a one-bedroom house. It would be a family of four, and one bedroom is supposed to house two heads. So this would not work. Okay. So we basically have to wait until I'm able to move into another house. You would ask me, why don't you just move now? it attracts a fine. It attracts a fine. It affects my credit balance. Etc. I mean, my children and their dad are not homeless back at home. They're okay. They're stable. They can wait until then when they're able to come, and also when I am properly able to receive them. I got my social security number. I did get my driver's license. It was quite easy. I mean, I had driven back at home for over maybe 13 years. I mean, they say if you're able to drive in Kampala, you should be able to drive anywhere else. So, yeah, because the chaos in my city back at home, if you're able to navigate that chaos, then everything is easy. Yeah, but also coming from a place like my country, Uganda and Kampala, where sometimes we really don't follow the traffic rules. Yeah, we may bribe here and there, etc. So it can also be quite easy to fail a driving test here in the United States because we take a lot of things for granted. And I remember my a friend of mine just told me, "You know how to drive. You're an excellent driver. So what you need to do is unlearn what you had from Uganda, especially that you're going to run this light, turn this side when you're supposed to turn, run when you're supposed to stop. Make sure you follow every traffic rule to the letter." Okay. So when I got my my driving instructor, and he made me drive a certain, in a certain space, was like, "But you're an excellent driver." So now I think what we need to do is just ensure that you know the rules well, etc and etc. And that's what I focused on. In the state of Iowa, you have to score 100%. Yeah, to pass. You have to score 100%. So I just focused on, stop, yield, don't run the red lights. Let's who has the right of way? Every pedestrian has a right of way, even if there's a green light and you're meant to pass, etc. So I just spent, because I had how many classes did I have? I think I had like 4 5 classes, just to be able to do that, to make sure my lights were okay, to go to a highway, to go to these all busy junctions, etc. And then I was able to do that. And when I went for my driving test, I passed the first time. And that was good. That was, yeah, that was an achievement for me. So I did that. I got my car much later. Yes, at first um, I was using Uber, or I was using a Lyft to go to work, but then eventually I've managed to get a car. Yeah, so I've done that. This 6 months has also taught me quite a number of things. Do it yourself. These guys take do it yourself to another whole level. So everything you pretty much will do it on your own. So you need to learn how to assemble your bed, assemble your furniture, basically be hands-on, very hands-on with a lot. Fuel your car when you go to a gas station, screw your number plate on the car, do all those things. So there's a lot that I've been able to just learn within this short span of time, but also just growth internally. I'm a very confident person, but my confidence has grown a notch higher. I feel like there's just a lot. Like, some of the growth is intangible. I can't put like a finger to it, but I know that there's been a change, and there's still continuing to be changes and transformations that I'm going through, which is actually really, really nice. So far, the 6 months have been a time that I have enjoyed. I came in spring. Spring was beautiful. Went through summer. I started actually work in summer because I came on the 8th, but I only started work on the 27th of May. Yeah, I had a bit of a delay with applying for my social security number, so that delayed me. But all was good. I like the place. I like the city. It's quite laid back. It is slow. Yeah, it's slow. there is no traffic. So when you're driving to work, you're not really anxious about, meeting traffic and being late. Like, your estimated time is pretty much accurate. That's the time it's going to get you to reach where you want to go. So I like that. People are quite friendly. I don't know if it's just a characteristic of people in the Midwest. Yeah, they're quite friendly. They will say hi, they'll greet you. Yeah, I do like that. I also completed my orientation. So I had an 18-week orientation. Yeah, so I started with a general orientation on 27th of May. And then after the general orientation, I went into a clinical orientation, which actually now then did take the 18 weeks. Okay. So I oriented in 7 specialty units. Why 7 specialty units? It's because right when I was doing my interview for this job, I was hired to come and work in the float pool. So it is, you see, like being a float as we know it. You know how maybe today you have come to work, but there's a shortage in a certain unit and you're being requested to float to that unit and go and give assistance or fill up that gap. So here, some hospitals actually hire nurses specifically to be in the float pool. So you go where there is a need, you go where there is a gap. So I came from Uganda knowing I was coming to work in the float pool. So I don't have a parent unit, okay? I'm in the float pool. My unit is a float pool. So what then does that mean? It means that I work where there's a need that particular day or that particular shift. So that means also that I am pretty much going to be working in a different place every time or any time that I'm going to work. So because of that, I had to orient in all the units that I would be floating in. I began with my foundation unit, which was a cardiac intervention unit. I spent there 6 weeks. These 6 weeks are comprised of 5 weeks of day shifts. Yeah, so they organized it in such a way that I had to do some day shifts so that I could understand what's happening during the day. How, there's a way that traffic during the day is quite different from the night. The pace at which things happen is quite faster compared to the night. You're dealing with more family, you're dealing with more administrators, leaders, etc. Okay, it's also when you get to, for example, discharge patients. Yeah, so my 5 weeks in day shift helped me to understand that, helped me to understand the dynamics of, family being around, administrators being around, and then also the skill of discharging a patient. But otherwise, I signed a contract for night shift. So after the 5 weeks, then I transitioned into night shift, still within CIU. So I did 5 weeks and then 5 weeks of day shift and 1 week of night shift in the CIU. Now, why I did 6 weeks there is because it's a foundation unit. So it was a unit where I was going to learn all the basics before I could move to any other unit. Okay, so learn the charting, learn how to use like your badging system, learn how to use the Omnicell. The Omnicell is where we pick the patient's medications from. It's kind of a secure system. Like, just learn the systems, right? Yeah. And by the time the 6 weeks had ended, I pretty much had got a grasp of most of the things that I needed to learn. Yeah. So when I went to the other units, I was just really trying to polish on some of the gaps, some of the deficiencies that I had. But for the most part, the basic things I had got. Now, it also brings me to how did it start. Of course, at the very start it was quite hard for me. I had a lot of imposter syndrome. I just kept wondering, how do these people do it? How am I going to catch up? Will I ever catch up? How do these people just know what to do? How do you look through the patient's chart? How do orders come in? Gosh, Oh my God, I've never felt so inadequate. Yeah. I felt so inadequate the first few shifts. I call them shifts, not weeks, because every shift had a goal that I had to meet. Yeah. But the first few shifts, maybe 5 to 6 shifts, oh, I questioned a lot about my ability to do certain things. I really did do that. And oh my God, when I remember, so in the morning, I would come, enter the chapel. So my hospital is a Catholic place, but it has this ecumenical chapel. So I would enter in there and I'm like, Jesus, I have come to work today. I don't even know what lies ahead of me. I don't know what my preceptor has in her mind today, but I have some goals that I feel I need to meet today. I don't know what sort of patients I'm going to meet. I just don't know. But I surrender all to you. Like, I surrender everything to you. There's a surrender prayer that I always make. I'm like, Jesus, you know everything. Eh? Take care of everything. Jesus, you know me. Take care of everything. So I'd come and say that prayer and then get up and go to the units. And then I'll do my work. For the most part, it will really go well. But there are those few times when things don't go well and it will just eat me up, right? It would eat me up. So at the end of shift, I would go back to the chapel and I'm like, Jesus, did you see that? My dear, did you see that? I feel like today, if there is a day I have ever embarrassed you, I think today was the winner. I'm so glad that, there is Jesus that we can go and talk to, because who else was I going to talk to? So the chapel was my safe space. And indeed, it's still my safe space. I'd enter there and I'm like, Jesus, today it really didn't go so well. Yeah, that thing, did you also notice that thing that I did or that I missed, or this point where I just looked so clueless? Did you also see that? Yeah, I really feel bad about it. But then I would give myself grace, and then I'm like, but there's tomorrow. So when I come tomorrow, I hope that I can be able to work on the things that I did not do well today, or the deficits, I can fill them up tomorrow. So please give me another chance. Well, thank you for the chance that I know you're giving me tomorrow to come back again and learn. And slowly by slowly, I started learning. I mean, it's the usual thing, but because it's new, right? It's new. You're just there doubting yourself. You're doubting yourself. And it happens to everyone, not just us international nurses who come. It happens even to the nurses who have studied from here and who are new grads and are beginning work. But maybe it's not as bad for them because most of the times they worked as CNAs, sometimes they've even worked as LPNs. So they're kind of used to the system. Yeah, but for us, it's a totally new system, new culture. You're not used to chatting using computer. You're not used to all this technology. Yeah, but you get there. The chatting didn't really give me such a hard time. I mean, I have been in academia since 2010, right? To this year, 2025 March. I've been in academia. I've done a lot. I've used a bit of technology. I've used computer a lot. So navigating the chatting system was not so hard. The only part that it took me a while to understand was, how do the orders come in? When do I know that there is an order? When do I know that an order is urgent or not? Yeah, it took me a while, but at least now I can do that. Then my orientation also, because I was orienting in different areas, I feel that my hospital really set me up for success in the way they did it. Yeah, so after the CIU, I moved on to 6 other units and I did 2 weeks in each of those units. So I moved to the cardiac step down unit, I moved to surgical specialty unit, I moved to orthopedics, to medical pulmonology, and then I went to neuro oncology, and then I went to rehab, right? And then I went to rehab. So 6 plus 1, those are 7 units that I went to. Okay, yeah, so in each of those I did just 2 weeks, and I feel that it set me up for success because, one, I was then able to learn the geography of those different units. learn where to find what, who to ask. It made me, learn the people, meet most of the people, so that when now I go back, I know most of the people. Yeah, it just really made me familiarize myself with the units that I was going to, and that has been so helpful. And then I had multiple preceptors. Even in the 6 weeks that I stayed in the cardiac intervention unit, I had four preceptors. And for me, that was a plus. Why? Because then I learned different things from each of them. But also, it means that my shifts were flexible. I didn't have to particularly only work on a day that one preceptor would be working. So, um, something that I love the float pool for is that even as orientees, we were allowed to pick our shifts. We were allowed to schedule when we wanted to work. Okay, so it is the first 6 weeks that my schedule was determined, because then and it was determined because they wanted me to pretty much work during the week, also have some weekend shifts, and then eventually transition to night. So that means that I had to have different preceptors. And that was really a plus for me. I credit the hospital for doing that. And when I was giving my feedback, I was like, you guys just did the best for me. Yeah, because I just having one person, you only learn one way of doing things. Yeah, but here somebody comes and tells you, I usually do it this way, then another says, I do it that way, I do it that way. So you basically pick what works for you. Or one person may have missed something, then another one notices, and then they tell you. Okay, then even the different units that I went to, there's no unit that I had only one preceptor. I had different preceptors. Yeah. And I enjoyed the days when I had my fellow Kenyans. I say fellow because I'm an East African community. So the Kenyans, oh, you guys were so lovely. Yeah, I loved the times when I had a Kenyan preceptor. Yeah, they were just so lovely. They just showed me some nuggets, like do it like this, be careful about this, etc. Yeah, I loved that. And basically, when I also had some international preceptors, that was really, really nice. So by the time the 18th week was ending, I was really quite proficient in what I was expected to do. Yeah, so for the most part, for those last weeks now, when I went into a unit, I would take on the full patients. So I would take on 4 patients, but sometimes maybe my preceptor would be assigned 5 patients. So they would give me the 4 and then they remain with the 1. So it doesn't mean that they're only going to look at 1. They're basically going to look through everything I have done, but I'm doing 4. Why doing 4? Because at the end of the day, you're going to be expected to have at least 4 patients, and that's like the minimum. So it's between 4 to 6, right, patients. So doing those 4 patients helped me, to try and see how I can prioritize them. Which patient do I see first? Who do I start giving meds first? How do I manage my time, etc? How do I do my chatting, etc? Also, going to the different units meant that then I learned what the needs of each of the units were, because the charting is not uniform for all the units. There are certain emphases that are going to be made in cardiac intervention and cardiac step down units, and then there are certain emphases that are going to be made in orthopedics, for example. So I needed to understand that there are certain emphases that are going to be in the rehabilitation, for example. Yeah. So I had to learn that. So that was really my orientation. I have no complaints. My preceptors have been amazing. Um, the hospital has been amazing. One thing I would just advise, if you're a preceptee, you know, have your goals. Have your goals. Every time you go, try to share with your preceptor what your goals are. They will also be having their goals, right? Try to share them. then see how best you can achieve those goals. Never fear to ask questions. Don't think they will get tired of you. Yeah, they may get tired of you, but it's okay. Me, I would just ask, right? I would just ask, even if I asked it yesterday or I asked it 5 minutes ago, I would still ask. Better to ask and do the right thing than not ask and not learn, or not ask and make a mistake. So just ask away. Okay, ask away. If you're fearing to ask your preceptor, ask another person. Yeah, they will tell you. They will tell you. Okay, yeah. Then give feedback. Give feedback. I remember at the end of the shift, I would give feedback. I'll tell them, I think I struggled today. I feel like I have met this goal now. I want to move on to a more complex one. I struggled here today. I did not achieve this today. Maybe tomorrow when we come back, this is what I want to achieve. Etc. I am still struggling with where to see the orders from. How do you guys see the orders? Etc. Yeah. So I gave feedback, and they would also ask, how do you think I performed as your preceptor? So I had to give objective feedback, and they also had to give objective feedback about me. Now that's quite easy for me because being an educator, I thrive on feedback because I have to give students feedback, they have to give me feedback, they evaluate me every time. So it was quite easy for me to ask and also to give feedback, right? Yes. So I completed my orientation in the last week of September. So 1st October, I then started. 1st of October, I then started working individually. Oh yeah, I had a little bit of anxiety. I was like, oh, am I going to to do this on my own? Now I don't have a preceptor. Like, you go to a unit and now you see your name on the board. This time it's yours alone, not you and not a preceptor then yours. It's yours there, and you have your assigned 4 patients or 5 patients. Okay. Yeah. So first night I was a little bit anxious, but I did it well. Second night I also did it well. Third shift I struggled a little bit. I think I just had quite tough patients. I struggled a little bit, but still I managed. Okay. So every day is not the same. But I have been able to, take care of the patients that are assigned to me. Of course, with a lot of support from the charge nurse. I don't fear to ask a charge nurse. I will just always go and ask them, like, may you please show me this? Okay, I didn't get a chance to see how this is used during my orientation. Do you mind showing me, especially if I've gone to a specialty unit and maybe I didn't have a chance to do that thing because the patients assigned to me did not require them. So that's a chance for me to learn. So I would ask the charge nurse, and the charge nurses are actually willing to help, right? Yeah, so they are willing to help. So I always ask. Yeah, I always ask around. Or if I'm not asking a charge nurse, I'll ask a colleague, I'll ask a friend here and there. Yeah. And I utilize my fellow international nurses. There's a way people are quite very supportive. Yeah, they're supportive. So they will help you. They'll ask, hi Judith, are you doing well? Hi Judith, is everything okay? Hi Judith, do you need some assistance? Yeah, then also when I'm done, I'm also asking them, are you okay? Do you need any assistance? Do you need help? Yeah. So that's how so far it has been. So I've done 1 month already. As of my shift on Wednesday, I had already made 1 month of working independently. So because I'm in the float pool, I move to different units anytime or every time. Sometimes I could be asked to move to the same unit today, tomorrow, the next day. But every time I prepare my mind to move to any unit or a different unit, that is the mind of a float pool nurse. Okay? You just prepare yourself to go anywhere and everywhere you're asked to go. So I'm always prepared to go anywhere. I'm prepared to meet any patient. I'm prepared to take on handover reports from the start because I didn't have that patient yesterday, right? As opposed to the floor nurses who might have worked yesterday, then today they'll come back and they'll be given the same patients. Me, I might be having new patients every day. Yeah, and I will give a talk about just the float pool and how it works. Yeah, so 30 minutes before my shift, there is an assignment line that I will call into. I have a code, and then it will tell me this number, you're going to work in this place as this. Okay, so for the most time, I'm going to work on the floor as an RN. I'm going to take care of patients, which could be anywhere from 4 to 6. But I've also had situations where I've had 3 patients when I've been floated to the pediatric unit. So the pediatric unit has some adult patients that are overflow from the CIU. Yeah, most times they are quite easy patients. Most of them are usually fresh post-ops or that's same day post-op laparoscopic procedures. So we are observing them. So I've been able to take care of those patients at least 2 times. And for the most times, there are most times only 3. They don't even, yeah, most times 3. But I've also had 6 patients. I almost lost my head that shift. Hey, I was running around like headless chicken, right? So, oh my God. Now, just a bit of a background is that before I came, I was in the ICU. So I spent some time in the Uganda Heart Institute ICU. Okay. And there it was basically 1 to 1, or even sometimes 2 nurses to 1 patient, especially if you've just had a fresh open heart surgery. Okay. And it's a first day of admission. Then you might have been 2 nurses. You have a primary nurse and a secondary nurse. Then the second day, that's when you might be alone. But even for the most part, we would actually be 2. Yeah. So I was coming from having 1 patient who you know so well in and out and all that. And then you're coming to 4 patients in med-surg. Oh my God. Like just having to wrap my head around 4 patients who are having 4 different conditions. Yeah. I felt like I was just running around like headless chicken. So 4 was already giving me a hard time at the beginning, but eventually I got my hang around it and I was good. Oh, this time I had 6 patients. Hey, hey, I had 6 patients. Oh, that was hard. That was hard. Yeah. But the shift ended and patients were good. Patients were taken care of. I took a little bit of an extra time to sit down and complete my charting. Yeah, I must have left the unit at 8 or even 8:10 for that shift. Yeah. But there are those days when the number of staff are quite low, and so you're going to end up having 5 or 6 patients. Yeah, they do happen. It's not all the time, but they do happen. But it's very common for you to have 5 patients. Like you would start with 4, and then at 11 p.m., maybe there's somebody who did 8 hours. They started from maybe 3 and they're ending 3 p.m. and they're ending at 11 p.m. So they will basically just distribute their assignments to you. So you take on an extra patient. Yeah. So I do 12-hour shifts, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. I work Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Now, also the being able to work individually now or being off orientation means that I'm now able to pick extra shifts. So I have picked a total of, in my first pay period, that's the first week of October and second week of October, I did 3 extra shifts, 2 extra shifts on the first week and 1 extra shift in the second week. Yeah, it actually did made a boost in my pay. Yeah, I was happy with that check. This time around, last week I also did 2 extra shifts. I have 1 extra shift actually tonight that I'm going to do. So that would be like 6 extra shifts in a month. My plan is to have 2 extra shifts every week. And I say that because right now, there's really not much I am doing. I'm here alone. I didn't come with my family. I have all the time to myself. In fact, if anything, I struggled a lot during orientation because I did 3 straight shifts and I had 4 shifts where I was doing nothing. Oh my God, that was hard for me. Coming from Uganda, I was such a hustler. Like I would be doing so many things in one day. For me, 24 hours were not enough for me. I don't even know. Yeah, I would sleep for like 4 hours. If I had done well, 5 hours. But 4 hours was my hours of sleep from back at home. I was running to the university to teach. I was running to Mulago to go to Heart Institute. I was tutoring NCLEX. I was reviewing REC uh, students' protocols, research protocols, because I was a member of REC. I had projects within the university that I was also involved in. I mean, a day was such a hectic one for me. So coming here and doing 3 shifts in the night, and then coming back and sleeping the let's say I've done my last shift on Wednesday, which came into Thursday. So I've slept the entire Thursday day during the day, then I've slept in the night. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Oh my God, like what am I doing with myself? So orientation, those days when I was off was a struggle for me. Yeah. Then I'm on an H1B visa also. I cannot really do any other job, etc. Even tutoring for NCLEX, I stopped because I just don't want to, jeopardize my visa or jeopardize my work authorization, because they don't expect me to be earning from somewhere else. So that was tough. So I pick up shifts. Yeah. So I work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, rest Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I pick up 2 extra shifts, rest Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. The cycle continues. Yeah, until my family comes, then I will adjust. Those extra shifts make such a huge difference to your paycheck. I've just received it once. It was good. Yeah, it was good. It was able to cover all my bills and I still had something left. So that means that you can actually be able to live on one paycheck and then the other paycheck, you do it for other things. And that brings me to saying that when people say nurses in the United States make a lot of money, it's not actually the regular pay. The regular pay is just enough for you to run your life, your monthly expenditure, with some little amount left that you can save. Okay, run your monthly expenditure, send some back at home, and then remain with something. But if you want to do something big, maybe you have a project that you'd like to work on, etc., then the extra shifts do come in handy. Yeah, the extra shifts actually do come in handy. So that is where the killing is made, because then you're being paid time and a half. It attracts a little bit of some more taxes, because then it pushes you to another tax bracket. And that is something that we need to understand. Doing extra shifts does not translate to you being taxed more. It translates to you being pushed to the next tax bracket because you're now earning more. But for me as Judith, what matters is that there is an additional money that is hitting my account. So when I'm able to, when I have the energy, when the shifts are there, I'll be glad to take them. So those have been my experiences the past 6 months. Yeah, I hope that I can be able to, to post a lot more frequently, to be able to share a lot of the experiences that I've had for the last 6 months. Yeah, and I hope that for those who have also been here, you could share your experiences in the comments as well. Please comment if there is anything in particular that you'd like me to talk about. Please comment. Otherwise, thank you so much. And I'd like to request you once again to subscribe, to like my videos, to comment, to share with your friends, and also go back to older videos and watch them. There are a number of videos there, so try to look at them as well. Otherwise, thank you so much. I wish you all the best. Continue with your journey. If you're in the journey to come to the United States, don't lose hope. Continue with it, okay? Eventually, you reach here. And then we will all be able to, achieve those big dreams that we've been dreaming about. All our dreams are valid. They're all valid. You work hard at it, and eventually it does pay off. Thank you, and all the best. Bye.